What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave Connery and I'm an artist designer in Long Beach, California, and my hands smell like bleach. You didn't need to know that, but what you do need to know is what we do here, and basically we just like to explore new art things. Anything that relates to art, anything that we can paint on, anything we can paint with, anything we can draw with, anything we can make. I'm trying new things all the time, and so that's where we're at. I really should condense that down into something better. Hey, I've got a new project. Let's go! If you've been following along for a little bit of time, you know that I've been teasing this idea of redoing some of my cans. These cans, I have a bunch. These cans normally would go in the trash, but I've decided to turn them into art themselves. I thought, why can't the materials be the canvas? And that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna take something like this can right here, which is almost empty, I think. Really close, turn it into something like this, and then paint on that. We'll go around this whole process. I'll show you how I got here and what I learned while I was doing this. I've got a few more that I need to do, so we'll paint all of them, or some of them, or one of them, and then you get to see it all. Before we begin, let's talk about this sucker right here. This is the next one. This will be this, but what I learned when I was doing this, and let me see if I can find the right one here. If you can see, there's a little bit of darkness right here, and that is from lettering that was on the top of the cap, kind of like, it looked like this. The thing about that is that it bled through. I was spraying it with primer and it kept bleeding through. So I had to cover this with primer a bunch of different times. This one down here too, that one kept, like, it just kept bleeding through. Now what I'm doing is, if you look at this one, it's like I'm cleaning them off with a little bit of acetone, cleaning them all off, trying to take off this as much as possible. Basically trying to make as clean a surface as I possibly can in order to get started with laying the first layer. But there's another step here that I need to take care of that's important. You see that hole right there? What I found one time is that I thought this was empty. Then I found out after the fact that it wasn't quite empty and it messed it up. So I had to start over. I started putting a hole in the bottom like that and then letting it, like, I would spray it on a surface because some of it would come shooting out. The compressed air would come shooting out and whatever paint was left over would go spraying everywhere. Put the hole in there to get rid of the air once and for all. This one does not have that hole yet, so we need to do something about that. And that guy right there is gonna be the victim. We'll see how it goes. It's hissing already. That was kind of uneventful. Here we go, let's do this right here. I already have another thing of acetone, so let's get to it. Take a little bit of, spray it on a napkin or some sort of cloth, and then just clean the lid off like that. You don't have to get perfect because you're gonna paint over most of it, but get it as good as you can because you don't want anything interrupting your flow. So now we're gonna clean the bottom. Gets all funky. There's a little residual left, but I'm not terribly worried about that because most of it's gone. That's just kind of like ghosting, and it'll get covered up pretty easily. Little sandpaper, just a rough sand. Cans have got a little bit of a smooth surface, so I kind of want to get the sanding done because it gives it a little bit of a tooth. Those plastic bits too, this one's a little bit shiny. Some of these are a little bit opaque and they take paint better. This one's shiny, so I've got to hit this one a little bit better. I'm not using a really heavy grit. It's 150. It's kind of medium. I don't want it too gritty. I just want to get enough of a tooth. After you do that, you must clean. You must clean. A little bit more acetone. Wipe, 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 wipe. Make sure your room is well ventilated. I'm just kidding. The door's open. I got windows open. Relax. These are both done. Well, these are both ready. First things first, primer. That's what I've laid down here already. I'm probably being a little bit too meticulous with this. The one thing I'm not being meticulous about is drips. I've got drips marks on some of these, like that one right there. I'm not too concerned about the drips. It's just kind of adding to the aspect of the art in general. You can see with this one, it's kind of leaching pink a little bit. I'm not terribly concerned about it. Most of it's been cleaned off, so we're just gonna let it be. We're just gonna let it ride and see what happens. That coat needs to dry. I'm gonna let it dry and I'm gonna come back and we'll do another coat. I don't know if I'll necessarily share with that. Once I get them all done, I'll come back here and then we'll talk about what goes next. I currently have 5 that are done with primer. The only problem is that And I can't believe this, but this can is almost empty itself, and so it's gonna be even more meta, because now I'm gonna, at some point, paint this can of primer with more primer, and then do something else with it. The something else part is the interesting part, because I'm still not 100% sure what I want to do. When I only had 4, I was going to do something like that was divisible by 4s, like maybe the seasons or something like that, but now I have 6. I don't really have a muse for 6, so I don't know, I might just, you know, do whatever I want, which is actually not much further from the truth on anything else I do. But for the sake of this video, because I'm not 100% sure where I want to go with it yet, I'm going to go ahead and take these and put them aside and focus on this one. I don't want to ruin the whole batch, so I'm just going to mess with one, and if I ruin it, it's only one, and if I don't ruin it, well then it gets to be the basis for all the others. Pretty radical, crazy color combination. That orange is a little disappointing, at least in regards to its relationship to the other orange. I think it's okay, but I can add to it to see if I can't, you know, bring them a little bit closer together. But there is something interesting about the radically different contrast here. I'm gonna let this dry. We'll come back to it in just a minute. I kind of had an epiphany about what I want to do with these as I was doing that. When I started painting that aquamarine there, it made me think about, in fact, it made me think about this. I don't know what's going on with this can, but it drips like crazy and like pours out in different ways, and it's just like, it's a mess. Some of the cans get like that, and the nozzles get like that. And so what I was thinking is like, what if I painted my expression based on what already naturally happens with these cans anyway? So this is almost like an artistic representation of this. Not fully fleshed out yet, but I think that's where I'm headed, because I think that's interesting. And then that means I can do that same thing on all those other ones over there. Just to give you a rundown of what's going on, here we are. It's got some considerable amount of space to go, but I don't think I'm gonna add too many more colors to it. I kind of like this thing. I'm thinking maybe a little bit of light blue or dark blue, and or both, and then maybe some black just to give some contrasty dimension. So I also wanted to show you while I was working that I also did a few others. This is just getting started here, and then this one, and this one. Keeping to my same typical color palette. Most of this is aerosol, but as you can see, some of this is obviously still regular paint, and then the last one is right here. By the way, if somebody's wondering why I'm working on this table and not this table, because this is really my work table, it's because space, number one, I have more space, and number two, because of the aerosol, I don't like to spray too much over there unless it's a really, really small amount. It is done, at least as far as I can tell. It's looking pretty good. I'm kind of digging it, so I'm gonna call it done. I already went and signed it anyway. Not that that ever stopped me from keep touching up on a project even after I signed it, but still, I think it's good. I think we're good to go. I just need to let it dry for a little bit, hit it up with some varnish, and then it should be ready to go, and then I will finish up the others and put them up on the website at some point. But there you go. That's the first foray into painting cans as an object. So one other aspect that I forgot to talk about before, at least I think I forgot to talk about it before, but I think I forgot to talk about it before, is I'm gonna take the fat caps, the ones that are no longer using, they've gotten plugged up or whatever, I couldn't clean them well enough, and I'm gonna take those and I'm gonna put them right on there on top of that as part of the thing. And I think, of course I'm getting like, oh geez. I just ruined it. I just went and ruined it. That's why I got a little bit hasty. Now I gotta touch that up. See, I already gotta touch it up. Anyway, so what I'm telling you here is that I'm gonna take that cap and I'm gonna glue it in there so that, not that it's gonna spray anything, it's got a hole in the bottom, but I'm gonna glue it in there so that it's permanently part of the thing. It's part of the installation. I'm gonna leave that alone, let it dry, not gonna mess with it anymore. Varnish it up, put the cap on, call it done, and then give it up there for people to buy if they want to buy. That's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed that little adventure. I don't know what I'm planning on doing next. I gotta finish these other cans over here. I'm not fully sure what I want to talk about there, but you'll just have to stay tuned for another video for that one. And if you haven't done so already, please do me a favor, like this video and then subscribe to the page and hit the little bell, or do whatever it is that you got to do to make sure that you never miss anything. Thank you very much for your time, guys. I really appreciate you. If you enjoyed this video, you know, share it with somebody. And if you didn't enjoy this video, well, share it with them anyway. I'm gonna go. Remember, folks, be good today, be even better tomorrow. See ya. I gotta clean up.